This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. So Halloween is in just a few days and we're already on a roll with the theme with FNAF and ugly dolls. So why not take things one step further and talk about the horror creepypasta turned game turned meme that of course got a movie adaptation as well a couple years back, Slender Man. Did you know this was an actual movie? Cause I certainly didn't. When do you ever hear of an internet adaptation ever actually making it to the big screen? Well, apparently it's a thing. And my god, does it fall flat at every possible angle. So let's rewind to the good old days of Slender Man's peak, 2012. The craze of horror games was sweeping the YouTube space and absolutely everybody hopped onto it. I mean, you don't need me to tell you the history of certain characters on the platform making their iconic debut here. But obviously, with such a large trend being about, someone was bound to try and make a profit off of it. Enter Sony Pictures, making their big hit trending movie 6 years later in 2018. Yeah, kinda missed the mark on that one, didn't they? Adding further to that, this film came out on August the 10th, not even close to the Halloween season. What is going on with the marketing of this film? Oh, and to add even more fuel to the fire already, before we've even seen like the first frame of this film, the release date was also controversial as it was slated 4 years after a real-life stabbing by a couple of demented children in the forest trying to appease the real Slender Man. Yeesh. Honestly, that's probably more scary than the film itself. So with everything already going wrong, let's get into things, shall we? So as a Brit, I have access to the film on Netflix, and I'm not really one for horror usually. My only experiences are Final Destination 1, the Scary Movies, and Shaun of the Dead, which, yes, it did scare me. I'm just not a kinda horror guy, you know? Thankfully, Slender Man's got me covered, because apparently it's just got a 15 rating, and it has a teen scream tag. I didn't even know there was... What does that mean? Slated right next to the likes of Death Note, Sausage Party, and Sam and Cat. Now that's some real horror. So the film starts off with our millennial girls. How can you tell? Well, they're watching cat videos, of course, and talking about how they have no soul and verbalizing the words Twitter poll in an actual sentence. It's about as much real character we'll get out of them for the rest of the movie. So at their school, the pack of 4 girls confront this pack of 3 guys, and they have some secret, told in the most generic of lines.
I mean, I could tell you, but then, I'd have to kill you.
Here's a hint of romance, and that's that done. Oh, it's gonna be one of those movies. At our protagonist girl's house, we see the family dynamic. It's not much. She's the slightly sporty type, dad approves of that, and they disapprove of a classmate being pregnant. This doesn't really go anywhere. Also, there's a younger sister, and our protagonist goes to an all-female slumber party, because of course she does. What's everybody's names? I don't know, just keep on guessing, because you really can't tell until they're screaming each other's names in fear near the end. Otherwise, throughout this movie, it's just other people mentioning multiple of them at the same time without connecting to who's they're talking about and which face connects to what face. It's messy. They make more lame references to get the teen audience all riled up about the content they're watching and judging, and talk about how they all want to leave but are stuck in this town. The writer probably felt real smart about taking this quite literally. Anyway, the topic finally gets to the boys, and apparently their secret is that they're planning to summon Slender Man tonight, and they decide to do it themselves. Kinda interesting how this creature is modern enough to be technology based, because it's just a video and electrical manipulation. It's cool, but that's not really a pro of the movie, it's just him. Anyway, once you see him, you're his, apparently. He takes some, haunts others, and leaves very, very few. As for the summoning itself, I guess it's a modern take on The Ring, but it really doesn't hit anywhere close to that mark. You get shots of a forest, you're instructed to close your eyes on the 3 distorted bells, and then there he is, followed by an intense epileptic attack. Like, I hope there were warnings in the cinema, seriously. Creeped out, the others continue with their night. You'll never guess where this is going. Our protagonist has a nightmare about the forest alongside some creepy imagery flashed in, and it's now a week later. I will give props for the actual location of this film though. This drone shot overlooking the place is actually quite creepy considering just how much it's swamped in trees. We don't have spots like that where I live, you know, so it's all new to me. Maybe it's just America. America's pretty horrifying. So the class is on a school walk, I guess? Through a graveyard. Everyone's affected differently. One's been vomiting, one's creeped out, one's having nightmares, and one's a little distant. Katie, the ginger one. I actually got to catch her name. She looks into the forests, there's the sounds of trees moving, which is a pretty good horror motif, and then it cuts to something else. They're all locked down from moving, and now she's missing. There's, like, absolutely no sense of movement, and just stuff is going on. I could barely follow it. They're put in a bus, the police arrive, they search the forest, and it's just legitimately terrible storytelling. There's barely a coherent connection to scenes, let alone any kind of tension or fear. And this is someone who was scared from Shaun of the Dead. At home, the protagonist's little sister is talking about telling her what really happened, I guess suspecting that she ran away. She's shot down again on any knowledge and responsibility that she thinks she's old enough for. And someone's entering the house. Finally, some actual tension. There's banging sounds, rattling, and no one declaring themselves. As the suspense crescendos, we see a tall silhouette and our protagonist runs away and the shadows are creeping up the stairs, which, you know, not bad, though the sound design doesn't really play it off all that well. You have to really push for your imagination to even find it scary. And once at their bedroom door, the guy starts speaking and mumbling and crying because it's Katie's dad the whole time. Distraught on his daughter's disappearance and then turning on our protagonist No Name, claiming she must be hiding her. It's the only logical explanation. And when attacking, he's pushed back once, poorly edited by the way, and immediately just arrested. Their parents also popped up in existence to shout back at him, and then that's the end of him. Really, like the entire film, he's gone. It's like they almost had something there, but they just sort of gave up on it, literally immediately. So now it's the next day at school, and the boys admit that they chickened out on summoning Slender Man, and then they leave. Their purpose is served, I guess. The protagonist is sure that Katie was kidnapped, whilst the brunette here believes it's Slender Man, though it's a hard pill to sell. So what's the next step? Sneaking into Katie's place, of course. Not exactly the kind of plot point I would have skipped to, but I guess when you're watching a movie on Netflix, it's kind of hit or miss, isn't it? Well, since we're on the topic of Netflix, you know what can make the whole experience so much more convenient? Surfshark VPN, of course. When it comes to entertainment, especially in these times, you don't need a restricted library because of where you live, and with Surfshark, you unlock 15 of the largest Netflix country libraries, including the US, UK, and Japan, by merely connecting to a server in the right country through their VPN. Similarly, you can access BBC iPlayer, Hulu, and other limited streaming services wherever you are just by using VPN servers in the countries that they're available in. And it's not just for desktop computers either. You can unlock this content on most platforms by installing the VPN on phones, smart TVs, and more if you want to. It's safe, secure, and convenient. Protecting your data with industry-leading measures, giving 24/7 live customer support, and just one subscription allows you to install and run Surfshark on an unlimited number of devices at the same time. So click the link in the description and use code DAZZ2 to get 85% off plus 3 extra months for free. And if it's not your thing, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. I told you it was convenient. Thanks Surfshark for the sponsorship, and let's get back to the video. And this actually, okay, this brings up one real praise that I will give for this film. As much as everyone in all roles seemed to be somewhat incompetent in their presentation in this session, like it was just maybe everyone's bad day for 3 months, I can't help but feel that the most caged role in the film that deserved better was the director of photography. Or maybe it was like the cameraman, or heck, even the director. Whoever actually gets the credit, the cinematography honestly isn't half bad in some places. A lot of it is just generic close-ups and shot reverse shots and whatever, but there's a good chunk of shots that look like they deserve something more. This shot of the 3 silhouettes at night ain't bad, and as the film continues, it gets better. But we'll point it out more as we see it.
The back door is always unlocked for when Katie gets home late.
Well, that sure is convenient. Slow down, my little legs can't keep up apparently. So they do exactly that. And hey, since you made it this far, do consider subscribing. Only you know the drill, blah blah, sub ratio count. But also, at the end of the month, I'm going to restart streaming on twitch.tv/DazzVideos. So come check it out. I'm going to be streaming 3 times a week till the end of the year. So if you want to see me in a new, unedited format, enjoy it. Here's the schedule. Well, see more on the you know. With the brunette called Ren? What a weird name choice. Anyway, she goes to distract the dad at the front door, even though he was already sleeping on the couch. How convincing her acting is, too. The others sneak through the back to Katie's bedroom and find...
She's really gone.
Wow! You don't say! Mind blown. Miss, I think she's been kidnapped, doesn't even believe her own theory. Can we get the movie moving, please? We're like a third of the way through, and yet it feels like an eternity. Have you seen how many green screen shots I've used up? So they find scribbles everywhere and her laptop in her wardrobe. Digging into it back at home, they then find that she last visited videos of Slender Man sightings. They look real convincing. And also they see she's been messaging someone online called Alley Cat about their shared experiences. I'll come back to this character later on, but for now, here's Katie seeking out the Slender Man, and the cinematographer flexes on us again with the shadow behind the girls slowly growing on them. Neat. But then we skip to Ren by herself in her room, logging back into that laptop again. What's storytelling? Well, at least the sign in the background has some common sense. So Alley Cat begins speaking to Ren through the laptop, suggesting you must give something to him to get her back. I predicted something like the photo of all of them, because that kept showing up multiple times earlier on, and no, it went nowhere. Anyway, Ren tries to explain.
It's like a computer virus that infects your hard drive, but instead of your hard drive, it's your brain.
This film is smart. Yeah. Our protagonist, who I'm still just gonna call her as, since we still haven't actually heard her name spoken, I'm pretty sure, suggests now that Katie gave Slender Man her life since she wanted to run away, having an alcoholic father and all that. And Ren replies that they have to try anything, no matter the odds. Actually, not a terrible justification. Like, the actor of Ren was really pushing hard for this role, so I guess props to them. Anyway, they do just that. Here's a pretty looking shot on a bridge that I'd wish to see more of. I like the colors. I'm colorblind. I can appreciate them when I get the chance. But I guess they just got lucky with the weather one time, because the rest is all just doom and gloom. Shame. So the girls go further into the forest and submit some personal items. A gift from a dead grandma, the last picture of their dead dad, and pottery. One of these is not like the other. What I do like about the sound design with this though is that cicadas screech louder when Slender Man's involved, and they're blaring here. Similarly, you could hear them when Katie's dad seemed downstairs, implying that they were watching them too. Nice. Though a little out of place considering that was indoors, but I mean, maybe that's the point. Anyway, next they can't look at his face. They must wear blindfolds or else he has you. They do the ritual, those distorted bells toll, and Chloe looks. 'Cause of course she does. This was the moment, by the way, that I actually worked out what her name was, so, you know, thumbs up from me. It shouldn't really count. It's kind of good, though, how little we have seen Slender Man up to this point. I mean, I guess it's kind of horror 101, but here he is briefly. Maybe it's the slow nature that doesn't get me, or the not quite fully priced CGI. The other two freak out, catching each other in a way that doesn't logically make sense, and they find Chloe again, not taken, but dazed instead. Mission failed. Here's our protagonist thinking about Katie in her bedroom again. It's a really important scene. How? Hal is her name? Okay. And then here's Chloe instead, trying to relax with music until it distorts. Slender Man has that electro feel. What follows next is a legitimately cool idea, with Chloe getting a mysterious video call of her own house, entering through it and coming right up to her door. This is good. Slender Man's quite the IT guy. And this mini jump scare is about as good as it gets. After that, it just overstays its welcome with these goofy big fingers not really doing it for me. Then Slendy chokes her and Chloe screams over the top of it. No, Chloe, that's not how choking works. So Chloe's missing from school now, and Hal is approached by that faint love interest, though she's too distracted by seeing Slender Man in the bushes. 90% of the scene is literally her looking over again and again and again. Hello? Hi. Moving on, Ren is doing research in the libraries, and she's the one hooked onto the idea. Finding the original Photoshop jobs from real life, connecting mythologies, and learning about bioelectric beings. It's your classic kind of revelation moment. Kind of boring. Though the fact that you can hear wood bending again is pretty nice. It's a good sound effect to use, considering the fact that I could totally see kids getting overly conscious of it next time they're out in the woods. It's probably the only good aspect of actual horror that they've got going on here. But yeah, we get a fake jump scare, then the electrics play up, and no one says anything in the blackout apparently, and Ren's entire perspective is distorted. Oh, there he is, walking kind of like those guys from Amnesia, remember that? Anyway, I guess this is supposed to be scary, but it seems more like a Doctor Strange episode with less color and something for the cinematographer to show off. And as a climax to the scene, he appears incredibly slowly. And I was kind of worried he was gonna like stab her eyes or something, but actually he steals her face. Ew. But hey, I mean, she's screaming underneath of that, so I mean, at least she can breathe, so I guess it's not that bad. Turns out it was a trick, I guess. Snap back to reality. Okay. So now Ren tries to explain everything to Hallie, and she sounds obviously insane. And I actually quite like this. Logically, their characters are making sense going forwards and hits that theme that Slender Man haunts some and makes them go mad. Also, the shot does this thing, which I guess is artsy. What is a little less convincing though is the conflict, as Hallie rejects her despite seeing him and chooses to stick to her sports instead, just kind of wanting to move on. Even still, she joins Ren in sneaking into Chloe's place now. They really don't come up with creative new ideas to their problems, do they? Anyway, Chloe's apparently not missing, she's possessed instead, and then they leave. Alright, I thought there was, a whole thing that would happen with that revelation, but no. The two conflict more, with Hallie just ignoring everything, and they split. Hal's got a date to go to, after all. It's a horror movie, you gotta have one of them scenes. Okay, so Hal's given some water to calm down. Tom, the boy here, suggests that Katie was taken by a weird guy in a van or something, and he hates to say it. Like, why say it at all? In this context? I mean, like, what are you doing, Tom? Then Tom threatens to look up the Slender Man video himself until he's shut down. This doesn't really go anywhere. In fact, I think Tom is done for the entire film. He's disheveled the next day, and that's it. Alley Cat, by the way, terminates her account, and that's the last we see of her too. Hal has another suspense moment from hearing Katie through the door and chasing the sound right into the middle of a forest because she's brain dead apparently, and my real life alarm actually spooked me as I was watching this. This isn't fair. I can't say on my resume that I've been scared by the Slender Man. That's stupid. Anyway, there's Slender Man again, at a tree. Scary. And it was a dream. But hey, look at that transition and technique. This cinematographer's going at it. Hal has some more visual freakouts, and then her little sister is now in pain and passes out. What? Apparently just chalked up as having a panic attack. And following that, Hal then goes on a real wandering trip through the hospital several looping times over. Tom's not responding to text, keyboard clicks are highlighted, everyone's in sync watching her, which I actually think is pretty cool if they ever did anything more. All the ASMR sounds turn to wooden sounds, and there's a legit like a 30-second drag out of this tall, slender man who's clearly just a doctor, but oh wait! Yeah, he's just a doctor. That's a big brain fake out right there. I haven't even seen horror properly before, and I know that that's just weak. Hal continues through more delusions, teleporting to the forest, being buried alive, Granny No-Face. It's almost scary, but it just doesn't hit the mark. And once back to normal, she's wandering aimlessly again, and Lizzie the sister's freaking out again.
He had no face! He had no face! He had no face!
Oh my god, you mean this is related to the Slender Man? So Hal continues to be the sole character on screen as she now goes home onto Lizzie's laptop to find those Slender videos again and sees that Ren led her into the forest to sacrifice something. Hal barges into Ren's house and it's a complete mess. Classic cryptic kind of mess, you know? And Ren's attempting to jump out.
I'm sorry. You're sorry? That's it? That's my sister! Why would you do that?
Oh yeah, forget the dying thing. The sister thing's what I'm truly upset about. Priorities, you know? So Ren's a mess, saying that Slender Man just wants them and no sacrificing items will work. He does that video call trick again that's less effective the second time around, and his shadow bleeds through the locked door. That's a new gimmick. I guess misdirection is his best trick, as Ren is grabbed by vine tentacles through the window instead. Alright. And as Hal pieces all the pieces together about how he wants them, because, you know, Ren literally just said it, she runs into the forest, hears those distorted bells again, finds the gates from the summoning video, which is actually pretty cool, I'll admit, and tells Slender Man to take her. Though he then decides to go into spider mode because why not? They've got a budget left over, right? And as she's cornered by literally nothing, she's grabbed on all limbs and pulled into a tree. Her crying sounds are weirdly doubled over, she's hidden into the bark, and that's the end. Lizzie recovers since Slender Man didn't actually want her, and she screams that Hal is gone. Saved. She's saved. And as an attempt at an ending, Lizzie is the one with the voiceover ending, saying that the more Slender Man's idea is spread, the more he grows.
It's all spreading his word, you know?
And that's literally the final line of the film. You know. Look, I'm not much of a horror buff, but this was just abysmal. And it's interesting because clearly from the trailer there was actually more planned. There's a scene with Chloe stabbing her own eye in the science room that I probably can't show you. There's footage of Alley Cat coming out of the forest all bloodied, explaining more that she's a survivor on the other end, though it was cut presumably because of the connection to real life events. But even still, this film just sort of did everything terribly. I don't know if a film like this is fixable, but here's a few suggestions of what could have picked it up again. First things first, making this a teen film? What a dreadful idea. I get the audiences, but the pandering to make this the most unscary, scary film makes it a waste of all of our time. The creepiest stuff was in the in-sync moments suggesting that Slender Man controlled everything, or that video call technique. More on that and less on the muted microsecond jump scares might have made this film at least creepy. And then on the story front, look at all the characters who never went anywhere. What about Katie's dad being a drunk antagonist? Imagine if he either had a classic arc of sobering up after the reality of his daughter, or being a more pronounced villain, maybe even kidnapping one of the girls to get answers, and then later succumbing to the Slender Man himself. It's a cliche, but you know, it's more than half a hit and an arrest for the ending of his story. What about the whole group of boys who are also aware about Slender Man? Even upon knowing that the girls summoned him, they don't react or do anything new. Wouldn't it be a great idea to rope them into the main conflict anyway, as a bigger group taking on this being, and they're not all instantly doomed? I mean, my only full horror story I've really experienced is from the video game Until Dawn, so I'm taking inspirations from that, but actually having a fight against this creature rather than just constantly running away is far more investing than more of the same. Alley Cat clearly was meant to be more, but what even was her ending? Was she taken out on the other end? Was it all just cut out? Tom also doesn't do much either, knowing the Slender issues, seemingly watching the video, and then disappearing. Did he die too? Can we get some kind of closure on that? Was like half the film cut out and that's why the scenes don't work so well back to back? And then the whole little sister element was completely undercooked. You can faintly get that she wants to hang out with the older girls, but establishing that more and paying it off better would have made that seem a little bit less out of left field. And even Chloe was abandoned pretty quickly. She got possessed, they saw her in a house, and that's the last we see of her. Like, what? She actually got a Razzie Award for Worst Supporting Actor for this role, which, sure. But when a character doesn't even do anything except get in the way and make bad choices, I mean, what options are really left? Beyond that though, just the idea that the bigger picture is 4 girls summon the Slender Man and then they die is just absolutely boring. No wonder this film got like an 8% rating. The Slender Man just does something new every time. I'd have loved to slowly see new gimmicks and then gotten familiar with them to try to tackle against them, seeing them used in different contexts. Even if it still was to end with them losing to him, it would have been great to see a fight started, and then maybe hinted that their new knowledge continues on with some side character like Tom or Lizzie hinting that they may take him down in the future. I don't know, this was just lazy, underdone, muted down, and meddled with to the point that it's just dull. 90 minutes felt like 3 hours. The film was a horror, but not for the right reasons. And it's a little distasteful too. Now when should I expect the Amnesia movie? For now, my name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. And that was my first horror movie, I guess. I mean, Final Destination, technically, but I hid behind a pillow like the whole time. And does Shaun of the Dead count as horror? Otherwise, man, maybe I need to watch something real. I don't know if I can stomach it, man. But Cabin in the Woods sounds interesting. Oh, I'm just going on a ramble about horror now. You don't need to know it. This is only going to be available before Halloween for a short amount of time. Unless you count 2021's Halloween and all the future ones. I guess we're always behind Halloween. Anyway, hope you had a happy Halloween.